Episode 213, IRONMAN 70.3 Indian Wells with Andrew Lewis. Welcome to the pursuit of the perfect race. I'm Coach Terry Wilson, and with each episode, I bring stories of athletes to you that share their experiences at races in order for you to learn how to have your perfect race. We will hear stories from athletes of all ages, abilities, and races of all distances. So regardless of where you fit in, there's something in it for you. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now let the pursuit begin. Hey everybody, welcome back to the pursuit of the perfect race. Today I'm talking to my friend Andrew Lewis about his recent race at IRONMAN 70.3 Indian Wells that took place on December 9th, 2018. He had an amazing time of 5 hours, 54 minutes, and 1 second in really cold water of 55-ish degrees. The temperature on race day was in the 40s and rose to 67. Andrew's come on the show a few times now, and I look forward to talking to you again, Andrew, about your recent race, man.
Hey, thanks for having me back, and you got the time wrong there. It's 4 hours and 54 minutes.
What did I say?
5 hours and 54 or 5 hours and 45.
Oh my gosh, whatever. It's 4 hours, 54 minutes, and 1 second. Did I say it wrong? Jeez. Yeah. Get out of here, man. God, here we go again. All right. So, we'll just go ahead and, being that we've talked about all your fun stuff with life, training, and all that crap in the past, we'll just cut to the chase of what made you want to do this race? It was the inaugural year. Why do the first year?
The first year, it's always the fun, popping the cherry of a race, I guess. And then at the same time, it was it's a power course. And then there's also an Olympic distance race that's out there that I do every year on March 6th approximately. It's called the Desert Triathlon. Same venue, same swim location. And I've loved that race since I started triathlon. So that's what makes this one a good race for me. Okay. And it's close to where I live.
So the road quality there, you're aware of the road quality.
Yeah, so some of the roads are pretty shitty. They're chip seal, and then some of them are not too bad. It's kind of hit or miss.
Right. I know they moved the race course a little bit because it was on this one road that was like really broken up, potholes everywhere, and then they changed the course 2-3 days before the race?
I think it was 2 days before, because I believe you had texted me about that, and I was like, shit, I didn't know.
Yeah. Man. So, how was your training going into this race? Because we talked about your race at, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Super
Frog. How you been since then, as far as your training goes?
Well, this one, I was finally able to run more than 6 times prior to this race. So that was a bonus where I was able to just fully run whenever. Don't tell my coach, but I didn't swim worth a shit. Probably swim about maybe 6 times prior to this race, which is normally I swim almost every day. And then the riding, that went really well. I'd done multiple centuries prior to this race, a lot of long, farther intensive rides, which, because this being a power course, that you need more strength on it. There's no reprieve. There's no, I'm going to coast down this hill, or I'm going to, go up this hill at a certain cadence or whatever. It's just flat. It's power. It's a lot of power. So
going into this race, you wanted to be able to rock a heavy gear, big ring up front, and just go.
Yes. So for this one, like typical flat courses, I do the Q rings on the bike, which is a 53-39, but the oval ring makes it 55 in the power zones, and then an 11-23 cassette in the back. So that way, if I was spinning up where I didn't want to be at, say, like 97 revs, I can go with the next one harder, and it would bring it to 95 with the same power, but the speed would pick up a little bit.
Okay.
That way the ratio wasn't far enough difference where you didn't have to adjust your style when you're riding.
Okay, so smaller cassette. You're not rocking like the 1132 or 1127. It's just smaller.
Out here, it's 1123, so it goes 11 all the way up to 21, or 1120, or 1119, and then it goes 21, 22, 23, or something like that. There's a few that it misses, but not until the big end of it. And when you're doing this race, there is no reason to have a 28 tooth. There wasn't a reason. I mean, you're not going up any hills.
Right.
Really.
I mean, there's 592 feet of gain, so it's not that big of a deal. So how is your confidence going into this race to get your slot?
The confidence, well, I felt pretty good about it going in. I didn't realize that it was going to end up being a who's who race where, the race itself sold out at over 3,000 competitors. So I didn't realize that. And there was a lot of people, 3 in the I think it was 30 to 34 age group, or yeah, I think that was what it was, where those three guys went 1, 2, 3 in the whole amateur race, and they all, like, got their qualified for their pro cards, which is pretty incredible. I mean, you see a time of whatever they were, low fours, maybe under 4 hours or something like that for an amateur is pretty incredible. So, I mean, and you just knew it was going to be a fast day. So,
I mean, imagine if the water was right around 71, 72 versus at 55.
The water kind of impacted a little bit. I mean, it was more of for the people that were in later in the water, I guess, that it was cold standing there on the sand, on the gravel. Like, there's a sandy beach. It's like a lake sand beach. And it's cold. So it's like in the 40s, and you're standing there and you're not allowed to go in the water. So other than the racing, they don't allow you to swim in this reservoir. So you can't do anything. And I mean, you just can't do anything, and you're just sitting there freezing your ass off. So, I mean, when I did it, I was kind of up typical front, but I spaced them, I guess, and I let people pass around me, which was kind of very unlike me, but I just was spaced, and people were kind of walking around me. So I didn't realize what group I was actually in. I just was like, oh shit, I got to get in the water here eventually. So that kind of happened.
Okay.
But it was pretty cold enough to where I wore the neoprene hat and the neoprene booty things.
Oh, wow.
So then I hadn't ever worn those in a race ever. So
you want to be nice and warm.
Something like that.
Man, maybe you just need to have Ben come over and warm you up.
I went out to Arizona for the full, and I stayed with the Millers, man. I fucking love that guy. He's awesome. So I was trying this gel out there, and so we finished this run. It was like an 11-mile run or something like that. And so I was like, oh, I mean, here's what it looks like. And so I squeezed the tip of it.
Just the tip
and
of it,
all of a sudden, yeah, just the tip. And this little blob comes out, and he goes, oh, it looks like pre-cum. And I'm like, well, thanks a lot, fucker. Way to ruin this whole gel thing for me. And I go, ha, #PC. And so that's kind of been like an inside joke with him and myself. So anytime we ever do anything on social media, we always do #PC. That's exactly what it stands for, because it looks like jizz. But surprisingly, it works well. So.
And these are the Morton gels that are like $3-4 per.
Yeah, so there's two gels that look like this. They're the Science and Sport gels, and then there's the Martin gels.
Martin.
Yeah,
I thought it was Morton.
Oh fuck, I don't know how it's pronounced. I thought it was Martin, but either way.
Ben said Morton, I think.
Yeah, he also pronounces it Envy. It's envy. So either way, it's there's an enormous amount of carbohydrate in the gel, and there's a lot of research on it where, you got Jan Frodeno using it now, and you got all the Kenyan athletes that are setting the world records. And all, I mean, every single one of them is using that stuff. If you read the science, it's kind of interesting, and I've tried it before. And actually, there's the flavor of it. It's kind of like sugar water. That's about it. There is no strong flavor. It doesn't get rancid. It doesn't get gross. Nothing weird happens to it. So it's kind of interesting.
Do you think there were many age groupers using that at this race?
Probably. I mean, well, it's kind of hard to get. Apparently, Martin sells out quite a bit on this gel. They get it. They come in and they go out. They come in and they go out. I was able to get a sample pack, and that's all I have. I mean, it's hard to acquire this stuff. And now I think it's more prevalent now because they've worked on their business or something like that. But yeah, that fucking asshole, Ben Miller. We stayed in the same house. It was great, and we're out in Arizona, and we're on this bike ride, and so there's we're just out on this ride, and Chris McDonald and Ben and I were just kind of rolling down the beeline. And so Chris and I are just riding, right next to each other. And then Ben on the right-hand side just comes out this fucking missile. And he's on his P5X. Chris and I are on road bikes. And Chris's road bike's got a normal 53 front ring. And mine's got a 52 because I like to climb better with it. And so, and Ben's, on his P5X, and he's in aero position. He's going down a hill, and he's got a 55 tooth ring, and just whoosh, just right past me. Chris jumps on his wheel just like that. And I missed it. I looked away, and all of a sudden I was gone. Like, and they had dropped me, and it didn't matter. I mean, I was spun out 47 miles an hour. Didn't matter. Like, I had missed the bus completely. So we're on this ride, and it was pretty good though. It was good to hang out with him and good to train out there with him. And after that, did the century. There was a century we had done. It was the Tour de Foothills. It was actually pretty fun. Phil Gaiman, the pro cyclist, came out and did it. And so I was taking some polls with him. Pro cyclists, they're really fast. He is very, very, very fast. But yeah.
What do you think his FTP is?
Phil's 400s and something.
Wow.
But he's also 150 pounds, something like that. He totally funny, great guy to hang out with. He's really thin, really lean, but you can see it when he rides the bike. You can tell he's a cyclist, and it's like a fast triathlete is still kind of fast, but a pro cyclist is something completely different, like just absolutely otherworldly. I mean, they're just so much faster. They did a few years ago or some years ago. It was at the Tour of California. They have a pro time trial where they allow other people to do it that are not just in the Tour de California. And they had Chris Lieto do that, and he got smashed by people. And he was the fastest triathlete at the time, and he just got obliterated. Like not even close.
Now, at the same time, we gotta mention the doping with cyclists. I mean, Lance Armstrong doped. I mean, I believe Lance Armstrong doped. From what I understand with the research, I could be wrong, but I believe that's a true fact. But there's so much doping in pro cyclists. How much do you think is still in there with all of that versus triathletes?
I think the doping is still around, is still prevalent. And a lot of people say I'm a skeptic, but it was exciting. When Armstrong was doing it, it was exciting. It was great. When I'm on the trainer, I watch some of those Tour de France's because it was exciting. They would attack all the time, and it was just attack. Now there's one or two attacks, and it's less exciting. Yet they're going faster up mountains than what Armstrong did. Now someone could say, well, the gear's better, and that's true. But up a mountain, it doesn't matter how good the gear is. You're still going up the same thing. You're not talking aerodynamics or anything. You're talking about sheer raw power climbing those things. So I think that there is still some sort of doping around in pro cycling, e.g. the micro dosing. And there was an article that posted a long time ago not a long time ago, but some months ago, 2 months ago, about Floyd Landis, that he said he could still beat the doping tests right now with EPO. He could still beat it because he knows how to do it. He knows how it responds in the body, which is kind of scary. I think for triathlon, there's not enough money in the profession. I still think there's slightly some professionals that are doping. This happened. I think it's more prevalent with the age groupers.
Really?
Simply because
age groupers doping. Why would age groupers dope? There's no money in it.
Because they want to win.
But there's no money in it. Why would they spend money on something that isn't going to bring a return on their investment?
Why would they buy a $20,000 bike or a $15,000 bike or a $10,000 machine at the same time? Because they just want to win. It's an ego stroke thing. And I don't think they're doing it maliciously. I don't think they're shooting up EPO like they were, or blood doping, like as far as the blood transfusions or anything like that. I think they're, some of the, and I don't think it's wrong that they're doing. I think it's wrong if they take a slot from someone else and they're doing. But if you're, say, in your 50s and you have trouble getting a hard on and you want to use T medicine for that, rock and roll tea, go and do it.
But that is actually a form of doping.
Yes, you are,
and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, it's just, and because they feel that they're not racing in air quotes. I'm using air quotes there. They feel that they're not in the race. So I think that may be one of their justifications or something along those lines. But there's doping in all sorts of aspects, and I'm against it completely. I was really sick leading up to Indian Wells. Really sick to the point where I was in bed for 2-3 days prior to it. And my doctor actually recommended that I get a IV hydration thing. And so, naturally, me being paranoid about it, because I used to do that with the running and everything, I didn't want to do that. So I looked it up, and within 2 weeks of the race, you are not allowed to intravenously inject more than 50 milliliters into your body. 50 milliliters is not very much. The IV hydration thing was an enormous amount.
50 milliliters is less than 3 ounces of water.
So
less than a carry-on, less than a 4-ounce carry-on, that's nothing.
Exactly. So you're not allowed to intravenously inject any amount more than that 2 weeks prior to a race. Now, I realize I'm not a professional and I'm not going to get, in all likelihood, I probably wouldn't get tested. However, for me, that just wouldn't sit well. That's the
it's
rule.
Your
is the rule.
morals.
Yes. I mean, in this race that we had, we'll dive into the race later, but I had an abysmal swim. Terrible. I'd never been that back in the pack before, ever. I mean, I'm usually way up. I mean, 27:30 to 30 minutes is that's where I'm at. And so I had to bike the whole field. I mean, and I did. And I got passed by a guy who I know, he's a local guy here. And I mean, he had the fastest 45, 49 male bike split on the day, but he routinely does that on the regular though. He says, Adam Harada, he's a fantastic cyclist. And so, there was people that were drafting like crazy,
really?
Like big draft packs. There was a guy that was actually, around mile 50, I kind of let up on my machine a little bit just because, I crossed like 202, 203 on via my Garmin, which I started a little bit late on the ride just because I wanted to get my shoes clipped in and everything like that. So it might've been whatever time in. And, I was like, all right, asshole, you got to run for 90 minutes here, back off and save the legs a little bit. And this guy, I can't remember what his name was, but he's an Italian guy because it said ITA right on his ass, right below his name. And he was drafted behind me the entire time. Like just sat right in my
there's
draft.
no officials out there.
There really wasn't. And about mile 52, I flagged down an official and I'm like, hey, go give this shitbag a penalty. He's been drafting behind me the entire day. And he tried to draft behind my buddy that had just passed me. He was the only guy on the whole ride that passed me. And he consequently rode in 218, that my buddy. And so that's how that went. I mean, so I think that it's a moral compass that you have to have. I mean, people cheat. People are going to cheat. Maybe make themselves feel good. Fuck, I don't know. I mean, and I think that conversely, I think that a way to prevent the draft and cheating, I guess, or the just inherent cheating, if you want to accept a world slot, you post your power files. It's there. Like you show them right away. Here it's on Strava. I mean, my watch went.
Okay. I get it. You post your data file. Submit your data file for it.
Well, no, you show them
your
right
ride.
then,
Okay.
right there.
Okay. Get it. Got it. Whatever. But is there a way to actually look at somebody's data file and determine if they were or were not drafting?
Yes.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, here's how it would go. So you would look at, Training Peaks has things like variability index, IF. So assuming they set up their account appropriately, right? So like I go into Garmin and Training Peaks and I set my FTP at 305. So when you look at my file afterwards, it says IF of 0.81 or something. So then you look at the VI, the variability index. How much did I deviate? Like where did I spike power? Did I do anything? And I was a 1.02, something like that. So it was really right within, any more than 1.05, you're spiking the whole lot. 1.1, you're really all over the place. So if you said, okay, my FTP is 300 watts and you're doing it at a 0.50 IF, yet you bike a 2 flat Ironman or a half Ironman pace, right? Well, holy shit. Or are you in the wind? I mean, there's well documented drag coefficients, the what it takes for you to punch a hole through the air, right? So how aerodynamic you are, essentially. So 0.185 is what Wiggins was when he set the hour world record. He had a custom bike, a track bike, a 3D printed handlebar. I mean, custom made to him, tailored skin suit, the whole, everything was custom for this man. And he also had track tires, which have a far less rolling resistance, or a CRR, than an outside tire. So there's no puncture resistance. There's nothing. And he also runs a front and rear disc. Why? It's faster. Okay, so likely anyone having a faster CDA than that man is bullshit. Or you're just really, really small. But again, he had custom everything, right? So there's a few pros that I know that we've talked, and theirs is slightly faster. Mine's a little faster than 0.21. So the difference, if I'm saying, let's just say mine's 0.21 and someone is a 0.25, right? CDA, I am 40 watts faster than that person. So to go the same speed,
10 watts per decimal point.
Per tenth of a decimal point. So like
per 100.
Yes, that's essentially what it is. And for 1,000th is 1 watt, right?
Okay.
So that's the general rule of thumb. So like, so for me, like if you say, okay, hey, here's what your IF was, here's what your FTP is, assuming they're all accurate, you can go to a site like Best Bike Split. And so like, let's say I was 232 normalized watts. And if I was to go to 240, that extra 8 watts, that would have gotten me, I think it was like 42 seconds faster or something like that. So now again, I'm really fast. I've placed the bar. There's custom made parts in the bike. The bottles are exactly where it's supposed to be. The latex tubes, they're fast tires. The front hydration actually makes it go like 8 watts faster. I've got the single side speed play pedal. Everything is inherently thought about. It's not, and the position is dialed, retuned. I've had 3 fits this year, right? Just to make sure everything is exactly what it should be. So for anybody to have beaten me with a faster split, they must have had enormous amount more power. That's just kind of how it's a watts. So, and normally people say, well, watts, you're 185 pounds and your threshold's only 305. Well, so that makes you're a 4.2 watts a kilo or something like that, right? Well, that's true, but this course is so flat that it's a watt per CDA. So, and I'm able to produce good solid power in this low position. And because of how I have the bike set up, I actually don't have to move my head, my body, or anything to consume hydration or nutrition.
Right.
They're right
so
there.
Whenever you say that you have a 232 normalized power throughout this 56 miles and your FTP is set at 305, you know without a shadow of doubt that you are maximizing your power while not leaving anything on the table.
Yeah, in theory, yes. I probably could do a few other little tweaks, like get a faster shoe or little things, but it's not going to be substantial to the point where I'm 6'2". I'm 185 pounds. I need to lean up because I'm still a bit of a chubster. So, but is it going to be substantial? Am I going to get to 0.19? No, that's not going to happen. So now I need to focus on raising the threshold more and more because I'm already super aero. It's not going to get much more. Could I save 3 or 4 watts here? Great. It's not that big of a damn deal, honestly.
Right, because 3 to 5 watts, even 10 watts at your point, is only going to gain you a minute-ish.
Yeah. Yes.
But yet, if you lose 10 watts, then you're going to be going down the diminishing returns of more than a minute.
Yeah. So, so with looking at someone's file, assuming they have it set up appropriately, you'd see that they're moving at a certain rate of speed, and there's calculators online for this, same as Best Bike Split, that you can look at their power file, you can look at their miles per hour, and then, it'll tell you there's calculators, you can see what their threshold really is. So if someone said they went faster than me, well, like when I talked to Adam, for example, Adam Parado, he did a 218 bike split in the 45-49. He was the fastest bike on the day for that. Fantastic split. Great guy. He also did that at 255 watts, I think, of normalized power on the day. Okay, so that's a substantial bigger number than, I think that's a lot more. That's 20 some odd more watts than I did. That's right. A lot more, but over the whole day.
But if somebody has a poor bike fit, is using wrong components, like a bigger helmet, no name calling, but they're using not the right gear, it's going to drag them down, making their correlation or drag, what would you call that? The
coefficient of drag.
There you go. They'll make that number higher, which means they have to put out more watts to get to the same number, the same time.
Yes.
So basically, instead of moving a Jeep down through the air, you're moving a Lambo.
Yes.
So that means you can go more with less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
So, with looking at a file, you could see almost immediately if someone was drafty. Or gaining an unfair advantage, so to speak.
But now, could you, in theory, go weaving in and out of the packs or weaving in and out of people with that 20-second window over and over and over and over again if you have a slower swim and still do it legally?
Yes, but that you would have. Okay, so because I had a slower swim. And I was doing that. Because it's legal to do. But you can, once you enter the draft zone, it's a you have 25 seconds to make that pass.
Right.
At the same time, though, you don't want to break your trajectory. You don't want to get out of your position. I mean, because like what I said earlier, when I don't have to move my head or get up to consume nutrition or hydration, that's a big thing. If you sit up, that immediately just totally obliterates any savings that you could or should have had, right? So this is why position is the most important aspect on a TT bike.
Okay. So
can you hold it?
Just to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Okay.
You get up on your horns, you reach back behind your seat, grab a bottle, take a swig, put it back, put your other hand on the horns, and then you get back into aero. Takes 5 seconds. How much time does that cost you?
That's I don't know of the actual time thing. It's 30 to 50 watts to do that. It's a big number. I mean, it's like it's like
would that cost somebody 30 seconds overall if they would not have to do that?
It could, yeah. I mean, getting out. I mean, that's why position. Like anyone that asks, like, oh, what should I do? Position. Oh, you want me 10 tips? Okay, fine. First 5 are position. Make sure it's good and make sure it's air. And then after, if you can hold that for the 2.5 whatever hours you're trying to do, then start making tweaks to it. But unless you can hold that, it's totally bogus the whole time. So I mean, So I mean, I don't know an exact time science on that because it depends on how much they do it for and how fast they're going, all that. But it's some nature of that. It's good 30 seconds, I'd say.
Okay. So I don't know how much you think is there, but just to kind of being that we've talked about this randomly, being that we talk so much, do you feel like there is a lot of money in amateur triathlon in general because of social media, marketing themselves, things like that?
Are you saying sponsor dollars?
Yeah.
No. I think there is discounted or / free product. I don't think many sponsors are going to go in and pay money for an amateur. I don't see the return on the investment for a pure dollar standpoint. As far as, a discounted product, absolutely. I mean, if you say, hey, listen, I ride this helmet, it makes you faster or whatever. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, then people may want to use that. Typically, it's probably a lot more with nutrition because, like, I still do the F2C, the greens every day. It's an important product. I use that every morning, no matter what I'm doing, right? So but a lot of people wouldn't know about that had someone not told them about it, right? Or they could say, oh, you got your Normatec boots, right? Okay, well, but these ones squeeze tighter. I'm not going to get into the specifics of which one works better than the other one. But if they don't know that normal people are buying them, like, and what it's used for, it kind of intimidates them, right? So,
I have a pair of Normatec boots. I love them. It just makes sense.
Well, I mean, there's not that I'm not going to call them knockoff brands, but there's different brands. So, like, they squeeze tighter. Well, it's not about squeezing tighter. That has nothing to do with it. It's about getting them.
That's not saying you're more powerful in the swim. It doesn't matter about that. It matters about the technique.
Exactly. So, yeah, fuck. And then, so that got us through to Ironman Arizona, and then
I see why you're laughing, and I know why too. Oh my God.
So to make Ben warm me up again and everything like that, so earlier this year, that bastard sends me a dildo. And it's probably about the length of my forearm, and it's got this big suction cup on the end of it. This phallus-shaped item has made it to a lot of races, and it's made a lot of appearances in social media. So, and it was the funniest damn thing. I get this package, like in Amazon, it says Andrew BBC Lewis. And I'm like, the fuck did I order? And so you pull out of this package, this black satin bag, and it's this huge dick. And you're just like, what the fuck? Like, and he knew it was going to be delivered that day. So, fast forward a little bit here, before Indian Wells. So it was right after Arizona. I remember seeing this parody shake weight video, like some years back. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be fucking great. So I go on Amazon and I know Ben's address. So I sent it to Ben PC Miller. And so all of a sudden I get this call from him. And he's like, I don't even know what this is, what's in the box, because I know you sent it. And he goes, it's heavy because I got the 5-pound shake weight, right? And so in there's this little card. It goes, hey, Ben, go jerk off a rhinoceros, squeeze some cum from a stone, and pull the skin off your dick. Love, Andrew. And so then he's got this shake weight thing. And it just and it goes along with this thing because Ben is awesome. But if you haven't met him, he's,
he's a big boy.
6'4", but he's like the Hulk. His muscles have muscles, right? Like, I'm surprised there's still water left in that lake because he would jump in and it could displace all the water out of it, right? I mean, he's just this big dude. And he did this Kona contest, or when he was over in Kona, he went at the Garnu booth or something like that, and he had the second highest power accumulation on their little test they did. And he had 700 and some ungodly watts or something like that for a minute. And it looked like the bike was going to break because there was so much power.
Would you have laughed if he broke the bike?
Dude, I was going to pay him $2,000 to break the bike. So I was like, if you break it, I'll give you $2,000. Just keep going. I want to see 1,300 watts on there or some number.
God, man. So let's just kind of get back on track here. The race,
okay.
Indian Wells. Focus. All right. So you live in San Diego area. When did you drive out to Palm Springs?
Drove out Thursday or Friday morning. It was Friday morning.
Okay.
Because we'd rented this. So I had made a request of Ben because we were all doing this thing together. I was like, okay, let's rent a house together. The requirements was big, gaudy, hot tub, pool, and a room for the bikes. So we got this house. It met all our needs. So it had a hot tub, it had a pool, although we didn't use either one of those. It was big, it was kind of gaudy, and it worked. So, and it was between both the swim area and then the Indian Wells, the tennis area, which is where the T2 and the finish of the run is.
Gotcha. So whenever you actually thought about doing this race, knowing this is going to be the first year of the race, did you have your expectations set up pretty low?
Well, with Ironman races, you just know what you're going to get. They run a very well-run operation, in my opinion. You just know there's always going to be people guarding bikes. There's always going to be, tons of volunteers. They're always going to be positive. The aid stations are going to be well marked. And I think that given that this was the premier year of this, and I think there was a hits race the weekend before, and now that consequently is now in October because Ironman's trying to kind of cannibalize the industry, I guess. So, which is fine, totally fine, no issues with that. So, they're going to put on a good show. So, and it was close. It's close. It was power course, and it just seemed fun. So, and I get to hang out with my friends from Arizona. So,
wow. So, with regards to the race itself, when did you want to get there? You already got the place to stay. You got an Airbnb with Ben and all of them folks. How was the event set up for you? For people that are doing this next year, go ahead and paint the picture of what it's like to actually do this event from before the race, like the transition area. What's the layout like? What's the Ironman Expo like?
So the Expo, you go there, and it was, if you haven't been to Indian Wells, it's a tennis club, and they've got a whole bunch of tents already set up, and they've got a lot of them, that artificial grass out there, and it was just set up immaculately. I mean, you walk through super easy. They had it was kind of like there was a street, separating the two parcels. There was a big grass area there where all the cars were parking at. Then, they have the expo area. I mean, I had a fantastic experience. You knew exactly where you had to go and go get that done. So if you're going to start through that one, it's Lake Coahuila, Cauhilla, I think is what it's pronounced. It's actually in La Quinta, California. That one, there's a campground there as well. So that's about 2.5 miles away from where 2.5, 3 miles away from where Indian Wells actually is. So it's a split transition. You go and you drop your bike off. This venue, because they don't allow you to swim in it ever, other than the racing. They want some muscle decontamination thing. So they had, it seemed like a full, where you had to go the day beforehand. soak your wetsuit in a bleach water bath and then hang it out in their tent, similar to how a foal is. And then you obviously put your bike there the night before too, which would mean totally fine, totally accept. I mean, I hate leaving my bike out the night before a race. That just kind of irks me. But other than that, everyone else does, so it's fine. That is what that is. And then you also had to go to T2 then after that and drop off your run bag. So that way you had you need nutrition if you had any nutrition with you, your run socks, your hat, whatever. And so that was, I mean, it was honestly, it was really easy and well thought out. Race morning got there. You would go to the T2 area. They had a whole bunch of school buses, and you just got on the bus with all your stuff. And then you go to T1. You drop your stuff off in the morning clothes bag and get all your wetsuit on. Although there's a lot of people that were really stupid. They need to learn how to fucking count. So the wetsuits were organized based on number, right? So if you're 211, 212, 213, and it seems that people don't know how to count. They would just hang up their wetsuit wherever. And it was just like, are you shit stupid or something? They were supposed to be organized in numbers, like, because there had these racks in there where your biking shoes and your helmet and all that stuff was, like, similar how a full would be, right? And so you had to, like, they would want to, I guess, right by each other, or I don't know, but it's just don't be the rock in the river. Just like fucking go along with the flow and rack it or like you normally think it could be. So
gotcha.
But I thought it was very well set up. I thought the community at large seemed to be very receptive to it. I mean,
even though afterwards there was that news article.
Oh, didn't read that.
Oh, nobody that has done that race read it, which is kind of interesting. And I guess I'm the only one that knows about it. But there was a news article that went around saying that a lot of the folks were complaining because of the traffic and all that. And honestly, I feel like it was the people that live there that didn't read the notices they got in the mail.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of, it's a retirement community, right? It's older retirement community. So, you figure sizable incomes or sizable assets or whatever. So they might be pretty well to do or whatever. There were some major roads that were shut down, and that is a piss off. I get that. But there was a lot of people in town for this race. I mean, you assume that for every racer that's there,
2 to 3 people
support that. So, I mean, there was at least 3,000 people there. So you're talking 9,000
an influx of 15,000 people in a day.
Yes.
Thereabout.
I mean, and so that brings in good revenue for the area. I mean, that's why people want to have Ironman there. So yeah, that's how that went. So, but I mean, I thought it was very well laid out, very well thought out, no problems with anything. Zero. Just had no issues.
Okay. So what all did you get in your goodie bag? Did you get that sling bag or whatever they call it this year?
It's the same one this year where it had that flip over the top thing, but
it's so weird. I mean, why don't they just pay for something decent? Gosh, those things are useless.
That is kind of, well, it was weird because we checked in that Friday. Brandon Lee, he's a guy on the team as well. He checked in Saturday, but so when I got there, you go check in and you get your bag, which they didn't even mark on my little thing for, which you're supposed to do. And they said, "Oh, go pick up your shirt." And so I was like, "Where are they at?" And they're right there. And so there's no one monitoring these shirts. I could have grabbed a whole stack and sold them on eBay or something. No one would have known. And then you got there and they had this big tub full of Cliff like bars and the chomp block thingies. And now you could just take one, which is probably what you're supposed to do. I took like 8 or something. And then they also had the Red Bulls. And again, I kind of helped myself to that, and I took probably another 8 that I probably shouldn't have. And you just walk.
But there are plenty of people that don't take theirs.
Yes, that's true. But there was no one there. Like so, there was a few people. There wasn't a substantial number like you would see at a normal thing. Now we had come in late, so the expo was getting close to shutting down. So that might have been due to that. I mean, but it was what it was. I mean, there was no one in line. We walked right in, got our stuff, walked through the gear stuff, and then went to grab some dinner. So it was totally fine.
So the day before the race, you're checking your bike in. The check-in process for that seems pretty easy, straightforward. I know you've done it before. This is a grass transition opposed to a concrete transition. were there any thorns, rough spots, gravel that you need to be aware of that was in the rocks? Because you're going to be coming through there barefoot the next day.
So, well, because I've done it before, I wasn't, the one thing I didn't like is, and I saw a few people doing it, but I asked specifically if I could do it, and I was told, no, you risk disqualification. I like to fly mount, where the shoes are already on the bike. I was told that I could not do that. So, that being said, they did a good job of sweeping up the parking lot, which is where the bike was located. So you come out of the change tent after you transition, and you're running your bike shoes, and it wasn't bad at all. And you just know where your bike's going to go. And then when I was getting to my transition too, obviously where I'm at, there's relatively the pro bikes and there's some amateur bikes, and that's about it. So I could do whatever I wanted there, but that grass was very well manicured. There wasn't anything in it. There was no pine needles, just nothing. It was just really perfect. It's like a golf fairway, essentially. That, like, picture that, but just perfectly manicured.
Gotcha. So as far as the night before, where are you going to eat at?
So, breakfast, I think we had that in the house. Shit, I can't remember. Then when we did a workout, just quick, nice, easy bike. It was Ben, Lisa.
30 minutes at 190
yeah,
watts.
30, yeah, no. We had, well, shit. So we were riding down. I'm hauling ass down this hill because Ben and I would play these little jokes and we'd attack each other and stuff like that. And there was these two guys. We thought they were doing a drug deal. Don't know why. They're fucking standing in the middle of the damn street. Like, I nearly ran into oncoming traffic because I had to avoid these two guys doing a damn drug deal, I guess. And I mean, it's not a drug deal. They weren't doing that. They were just having a very intense discussion there in this road in the middle of fucking nowhere, Palm Springs, right? Okay, cool. Then we went for a run. So me, Lisa, and then Erica McDonald went for a run. That was pretty fun. So,
gosh. So the day before, what time are you trying to get in bed?
Oh, well, so that night, then we went to this Italian pasta place that I know to be very, very good. Like, it's good food, good service.
What's the name of it?
Mario's Italian Cafe. There's 6 locations out in the Palm Springs area. We'll call it the desert area. But prior to that, we watched the movie Creed 2, that was out in theaters. And, it's like the Rocky Balboa, Ivan Drago. And you're watching that shit. It pumps you up like no one's business. I mean, when you're walking out to the car, you hope someone gets in your way because you just want to kick someone's ass. You're that jacked up. It's a good movie too, by the way. It was a very, very good movie. I would recommend that movie.
God. So. And
then we're in bed. 8:30.
What did you actually? What did you actually have for dinner? Did you have pasta, pizza?
Oh, so I had the
12-inch.
It was an Alfredo pasta. It was a chicken Alfredo at their place.
You sure?
Yeah, pretty damn sure.
Okay, just making sure. So you get back. What time are you trying to get in bed?
9 o'clock approximately.
Approximately 9 o'clock. Did you go to bed
because
at
I'm
9
gonna
o'clock?
What's that?
Did you actually fall asleep at 9 o'clock?
Probably not.
No.
About 10, 11.
Ish.
10 o'clock-ish is when I'm about bed. I mean, I went in this race fairly relaxed. So I was like, okay, let's just go and do what the body's trained to do. So
I thought you were going to try to get a slot.
That was the goal, man. And truth be told, I don't know how far they rolled down. I didn't ask. We didn't go.
So you could have gotten a slot.
I could have gotten a slot. It's just that because
you don't believe in yourself.
No, I'm doing the 370.3s next year in 3 months.
You wanted a slot, and you could have gotten a slot. You don't even know if you didn't get a slot because you didn't go.
Yeah, I pussed out. Didn't want to know.
God, hey, at least you admit to being a pussy now.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
You are what you eat, I guess, right?
Oh God.
You are what you eat, I guess, right?
Yes. So you wake up on race morning. What are you eating race morning, and what's your morning ritual like before y'all leave the Airbnb?
So I got up at like about 3 a.m. and so Eric Greenfield's also in this house, and he's like world class. He's just
world class.
He's just world class, just in general. Like, he's crazy. So I get up and I have a Snickers bar, and then I have 2 of those Honey Singer waffles with a little bit of peanut butter in it, and then electrolyte drink, right? The hydrodurance from F2C. So I was like, okay, so that's what I mean. As I'm getting up there, his wife comes out and makes a pot of coffee or something like that. And then Eric comes up and he pours a drinking glass full of Fireball. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I mean, and he does it. And he didn't chug it. He was just walking around the house casually before we had left, drinking this glass of Fireball. It was really, really interesting. I've never seen that before.
The most interesting the most interesting man in the world.
Like, I mean, that's intense. I mean, that's world class right there. And
so he had at least 5 shots.
I don't know measurements in a drinking glass, but it was a good number. And now, truth be told, we left before he had finished the drinking glass, so he may have just sipped on it and then finished it later. I don't know. But Eric Greenfield, he's world class. He was super fun, totally great guy. Lots of Speedo talk, lots of dildo talk. Good time.
Okay.
So, and then we get to T1 approximately 4:15. Or no, excuse me, we get to T2 at approximately 4:15, and then we get, we just get in line, and we're going out there, and it was weird. Like, I'm normally very animated, as you probably can tell. There wasn't much talking on this bus. It was like you were going to a funeral.
That's not cool with me. Like I'm gonna be going there. Hey, where you from, man? Like, I'm gonna get people talking.
I mean, I was trying, and it just, everyone was really focused. It's like, okay, cool. I don't want to ruin your little thing. There's a lot of people were super concerned with this whole water temperature the whole week long.
So many people were posting about what's the temperature for them to cancel the swim for sure. Like, why does that matter? Like,
now. So we get there, and so I was like, shit, I don't know if I want to wear these swim booties and this hat thing, but okay, let's just wear them anyways. And so I jump in for the warm up swim, and it's cold. Like, it was cold. There is no
take your breath away.
Yes, it was cold. I mean, now I don't know what Ironman did to get it 57. Have no idea. They could have peed in the water and then stuck a thermometer right there. I have no idea. My Garmin said 55 degrees, and it was the entire swim. So
there wasn't like a jump every now and then. It was
it was just like, so now. But again, everybody has to deal with the same shit. So I mean, so it was cold. I mean, and so then like you said, so let the pro men go, pro women go, and then I think it was 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, the pros started at 6:15. Pro women started at 6:18. Then I would assume the rolling start started 4 to 5 minutes behind that.
I think it was 10 minutes behind.
10 minutes. That's even good. Good. I'm glad that's a 10-minute interval there. So you get done with the warm-up swim. You get out of the water. You're staying around before the actual gun goes off for the pro men. How is your mindset at this point? Are you still talking with Ben, or are you just hanging out?
At that point, when we got into the corrals, we were talking a little bit, but then we got into the corrals, just kind of went the separate ways, said, hey, good luck, see you at the finish line, and just race hard, race smart, and have fun.
Gotcha. Now, what about, we kind of glazed over one key part here of when you got to transition. I know we got on the tangent of Eric and what he was doing. I think we got lost among the confusion here with all that. But what were you putting on your bike? How much PSI were you putting on your wheels? And what wheel set were you using and why?
Okay, so the morning of when I put up my nutrition, so I put the nutrition in the down bladder. It's a custom blend that I make myself. So I don't want to feel comfortable giving it out just because of the fact that someone could do it wrong or whatever. But basically, it's like a hydro gel, essentially, similar to a juice consistency, but it's super calorie dense, and it's got a ton of caffeine and a ton of sodium in it. And then I also fill up the front bottle, so on my machine, it actually acts as a wind foil to make it go faster, but it's the FC35 bottle, which holds about 35 ounces. And so that one, if I need to, I can drink from it. If not, then it's not necessary. So, and then I pump into the tires about 105 pounds because I knew it was going to get a little, so I use latex tubes, and latex tubes will weep air. It's about 2 to 3 pounds an hour, but it was going to get hotter. and as you roll faster, it gets warmer, so aero expands, right? So I went with that. I've tested it. New tires, I tested those out with that. It felt great. So what was the other question then?
What was your actual nutrition plan for the bike? Like,
So the nutrition plan,
like how many calories per hour? That's all I really care about.
So that I in the down tube, the angular down tube, I have a bladder that goes in there, and that has 1,000 calories in it. So I mean, that's as much as it will hold. So I obviously I'll fill it to the max. Why? Why something bad happens, right? The bottle will never eject. It's in the tube. It's not going to splash. There's a seal on the top. So I drink it as necessary. So I try to aim for 300 calories an hour, more of a drip system. And because of how mine is, I don't have to move to consume calories. I just flip my wrist and there's a little straw thing on it. And then I just put it back down and it's magnetized. So it works out pretty well for me. And the nutrition, it's just a custom blend that I do. So yeah, that's that.
Okay. And the wheels that you're using are Flows?
Yeah, I use the Flow 90 front and the Flow disc rear. In the testing that I've done, there are wheels that are faster. Yes, it's marginal gains. And the current IA that I have, it can only accept a 23C tire. So if you were to say, "Oh, I'll get the Envy wheels because they're faster," but they're faster at 25C. Well, the bike can't take that. So it won't matter if I run that wheel set or not because it's optimized with a certain tire width.
Right.
And
so a lot of people don't understand width of tires and why the width matters and the rolling resistance and all that. Dive down that a little bit and explain that.
Oh, Jesus, dude. I don't.
Briefly, dummy version.
Okay, so briefly, obviously you would think that. Okay, so there's two different things. So there actually is an aerodynamic thing of the tire based on the shape of it while inflated and under load. So like it'll be like, so it's like with like your own normal car. If you pump it up to whatever PSI, but then if you get into it, it's gonna adjust its seating, right? It'll flatten out or whatever. Then there's also a rolling resistance component to the tire as well. The super fast tires, they're gonna have a sponge quality, like they're gonna feel like a sponge. They're not going to be puncture resistant. So so this is on I think it's I use the GP 5000 based on the newest tests that have been done. I haven't actually physically tested the tire. I just rode with it. It is now faster than the GP 4000, which was the standard for all the other tires to be, because it's got puncture resistant. There are more faster or lower rolling resistance tires than that. Basically takes less energy to spin the tire around. But they don't offer puncture resistance. The GP 5000 offers a puncture resistance to it. There's also a tubeless versus tube compatibility, which I don't want to get into that so much. Then there's the tube aspect. So latex tubes, they're truly more puncture resistant than a butyl tube because they just they can flex like crazy. Problem is they weep air. So if I use those and I pump them today, tomorrow I'll be 20 or 30 pounds less in those tires tomorrow than I am today. They excrete air. Also with those, let's say you have a CO2, it doesn't accept CO2. The CO2 particles are so small that it won't actually inflate the latex tire or latex tube. So my flat kit, I have butyl tubes with CO2, but on the race setup itself, I only use latex tire or tubes. And it's the marginal gain of running a tubeless setup via latex tube there's the gain, yes, but it's not insignificant, but it's close to insignificant. I mean, we're talking seconds over half Ironman or Ironman. There's no real reason to. I mean, I have difficulties myself seating a tubeless tire, so that's why I don't use them.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a different bead. So a tubeless tire, similar to how your car is set up, there's no inner tube in there. You're supposed to inflate it with a compressor, and they actually have tubeless pumps. It takes a lot to get it in the beads and the beads of the tire to seat in the actual wheel. And there's certain wheels that are tubeless ready and ones that are not.
And the ones that are tubeless ready, putting new tires on those wheels by hand.
It's a little more difficult, yes.
A little more difficult.
Yes.
That's a fucking understatement. I struggled like a motherfucker for at least an hour trying to get that shit on.
Yeah, so I flat so on the road bike I have it's got Reynolds Strike 60 millimeter wheels on there, and they're fantastic. It's a great Canyon Aero, great bike. So I finally flatted on that 3-4 days ago, something like that. And so we're on the road, and I wasn't thinking. It has a tube setup on there, but you have to seat them in the middle of the wheel first. Like it's there's a process to it, and I had to muscle it to get on there. I actually broke one of those Pedro's tire levers that are unbreakable. So
yes.
they're gonna get me a warranty on that. Actually, I did send them a picture that I broke it, and they're gonna give me a warranty one. So which is cool is on them. But it took me a while to get that on there. So now that bike, because it's used for training purposes, will use the gator skin tires on it, just because I want more puncture resistance. So,
wow.
But yeah, so I mean, rolling resistance is real.
What about width? You didn't even talk about the width. Why does the width matter?
Okay, so width, it can matter based on air pressure. So, like, let's say you're going to run a 28C tire, wider tire, you don't have to run as much pressure in it. If you're on a 19C tire, which is kind of what the standard used to be, you have to pump it harder. And that's more for, I don't know how that one affects rolling resistance exactly. It creates more of a supple feel and more of a road gripping feel. So you don't want to pump them up higher. I run a 23C on this bike, and I run that at 105. If it was a 110, or excuse me, not a 110, a 25C, I could run it at 95. So there's a big lot of rabbit hole down there, and that's a whole lot of discussion, and we don't want to go down that yet. It just make sure if you run a tube and tire setup, make sure that you're confident in your equipment. Be that it's fast, I guess, if that's the
and this
thing.
Comes back to the fact of actually knowing what the hell your bike takes. Like, there was nothing more frustrating than me as a volunteer up at Lake Placid whenever this guy, he got to his bike in T1, and he came immediately to the bike mechanic's tent, which is where I was, because I had to fill in while the other guy actually went to his truck and got something. No big deal. Usually nobody comes anyway. But he came up and said, "Hey, I have a flat." Okay, cool. No big deal. I said, "Okay, well, take your back wheel off. What size stem do you need?" He said, "I don't know." Okay, no big deal. Take the one that you have out of your bag, and I'll use that. Put it in there. He took it out. It was a 16 millimeter stem, whatever, the short one, the little bitty one, the snub. What kind of wheel does he have on there? 808s.
How would he have changed that without a valve?
Yep. So I'm sitting here going, okay, we can put that extender over here. No big deal. Got that tube out, all that. And then he said, "Well, I don't know how to put my wheel on." Like, you have a horizontal inserting wheel, and he doesn't know how to grab the chain and put it over it. Like, you should know how to change your own flat without any assistance.
Well, and most local bike shops, they
will take the time out of your day.
Well, they offer classes on how to do that stuff. It's incredibly valuable to know that. I mean, what if, okay, so I get on Ironman, they got the moto that goes around that helps things. I get that. I mean, so I guess that's a fair
But you don't want to
reason.
rely on that.
No, you don't want to rely on it. No, that's true. But they've got that. That's kind of like you're out. But if you're out on your own and you're riding your bike in the middle of BFE, what are you going to do? I mean, I guess Uber.
If you have your phone.
Yeah, if you bring your phone with you. So
do you always bring your phone with you?
I do, actually, when I'm riding. When we're on a training ride, yes.
Okay.
Because I've been in. I do some rides by myself, so I prefer to have a phone with me so I can do get out of jail free card, I guess.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So you're gonna hurt me again, but I want to say focus on the actual race again. So,
no problem.
Going back to the actual race, you're getting in the water towards the swim. What's the quality of the water look like, and what is the atmosphere like right before you get in the water? Is it a dock? Is it a boat ramp? What is this like?
So it's there. It's a little reservoir. So the thing itself is actually from my understanding, from what I can see, it's like a big concrete filled in thing, like I guess a hole in the ground, and it's actually not that deep. I think it's the deepest that it gets is 8 feet in the whole thing. And then it's like a sandy gravel beach. So you go there, and people seem pretty positive. People seem kind of like generally chatty, generally kind of, garrulous, fairly friendly, just kind of hanging out, right? So, and then they have, I think it's 4 lines, boop, boop, they beeps, and there's one big long beep, and then, so it's like every 5 seconds they let 4 people in. I'm getting let in, and I jump in like I normally do. Like, so you take a few steps, you dive in, and then all of a sudden I see water, and I'm like, what the fuck? And my goggles had snapped off my head, and I'm like, so I stand up, I'm like, motherfucker. Like, there's all these people around, they can hear me. And so, and your hands are kind of cold. And so it's like, all right. So I found the goggles, thankfully, because the water is kind of decently clear. It's a reservoir. I'm not going to suggest you could drink out of it, but if you drank out of it, you wouldn't get like giardia, or you wouldn't be, pissing out your ass or something, So, so I tie a knot in the back of the strap of the goggles. And now, not in my defense, because I'm an idiot, I use a special set of goggles for racing and racing only. So they only get touched, 5-6 times a year, or whatever I'm using, right? So they hadn't been used since Super Frog. Who am I to know the difference, right? And so shame on me, won't happen again. It did happen, is what is. I mean,
you got complacent. Got it.
When that, yes. Yeah, but when that happens, the seconds in your head are like tick, 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 tick. It probably cost me maybe 30 seconds, maybe. I mean, if that. Maybe 30 seconds a minute, somewhere in there. Not like a, oh my God, my day's fucking over, So then you get in there and you're swimming. You go through the course. It was a well thought out course, kind of like a big flat V, kind of like there's a V aspect to it. Real reasonable, real easy. Water was cold. My hands got fairly, I guess would say numb. So you go through the swim, and I'm coming out of the water, and so you get in the changing tent. And normally my trend is...
Hold on.
Oh.
What was the quality of the water like? Was it nasty? Could you see it? Could you see the bottom?
Because of all the people in there, you really couldn't see the bottom. You could see the bottom to a point, but not like... It's not Arizona crappy. But it's not Coeur d'Alene clear. It's somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
And like I said, you aren't gonna be pissing out of your ass if you drink. Because I did, and I wasn't sick. But I'm not gonna recommend you go in there and get a drinking glass and go have
fill
a glass
it up.
of Lake Coahuila water.
Right.
So
what about the violence in the water here, opposed to like Super Frog or Coeur d'Alene or other races you've done, like Oceanside? Was there a lot of hitting, kicking, punching?
I didn't notice any of that myself because the seated of every, I think it was like 5 seconds, it gaps it out a lot. I'd feel bad if I was one of those guys that was like close to the borderline 1 hour swimmer or something, because they stood there for a long time.
Because you were in and out of the water.
I'm in and out of the water before they get in the water.
Before they got even in the water. So you're miles on the bike ride before they even start the swim.
Yes.
You are over halfway done with the bike before they even get on the bike.
I don't know if it's halfway, but
if it takes them an hour for the swim.
Yeah.
That means you're at an hour into the bike ride when they get out of it, but you also have to account for transition, so that's at least a little bit more time.
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. But so I get out of the water, and your hands are kind of cold. And I was wearing the damn booty thingies, and normally a transition, like I pull the waist down my waist, and I step out of it, and I had the worst, most difficult fucking time in the world getting these. Like I'm prying them off with this shit, like knuckles or something, to get these booties off. It took forever. And that
had you practiced getting the booties off before?
I hadn't used them in over a year. Like, shame on me again, but it's like, holy fuck. Well, because you don't anticipate your hands being that cold. Again, if I was to do that again, I would wear the swim hat. I would buy a pair of them cheapy like flip flops or something from Target, like $1.99 or something, and then just toss them. I wouldn't have worn the booties again, just because it just feels unnatural swimming in them. I just don't like it. Not my thing. Not many of the pros didn't, so it's like, if they're not doing it, you shouldn't be doing it really either. They all wear the neoprene cap though. Or not all of them, but a lot of them wear the neoprene cap.
Okay, so the race officials knew that it was going to be wetsuit legal for weeks out. Is that a fair assumption?
Wetsuit required a few weeks
Wetsuit required a few weeks out.
Yes.
Okay. So did they have wetsuit strippers here?
I didn't see any, no. There is supposed to be. I didn't.
Nobody that I've interviewed saw any wetsuit strippers.
I mean, there might have been had you ran around, like, so there is these two tents that you ran into, right? Similar like a full. There's chairs and you get the bag and everything. You have to bag your shit back up, right? And then there was a grassy area around to the right side, I guess, of the thing. And there might have been something there. I don't know. I never use the wetsuit strippers anyways. So I mean, that would be a thing that if it's there, great, cool, use it if you want, but that's not my thing because I normally transition super quick because I'm a short course guy. So to me, that's that. I mean, I'd rather not have that and have something else to do.
Gotcha. So you're in transition for 522. What is notable about the transition area here that you notice that might not be familiar with everyone?
So as you're coming out of this area, if you haven't raced this venue before, there's a little quick kicker hill you're running uphill slightly in the parking lot that you're in, and then as you're on the bike, there's a quick little kicker, like it's, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 feet long, if that, but it's quite steep, right? So you have to be in an easier gear on your bike. And then as you're rolling out of the venue, that road is a hunk of shit. Like if I mean, because I've ridden on it before, and I think I'm like one of the second or third fastest people ever out of that little strip there. Because I know how to do it. Then I mean, I've ridden it like 6-7 times, so I know where to go, where not to go. So that would be my take. So there.
Know about the kicker hill, know about the crappy road. Maybe pre-ride that little section of road a few times, get familiar with the path that you need to take.
Yes.
Okay. You get out of transition, you head out. What was your mindset going on the bike ride? Did you and Adam have a plan that you talked about of how you wanted to execute this bike?
I wasn't going to really look at power, honestly. I was going to race to speed. I had talked about that, and he told me, lack of a better word, don't be a pussy and just go for it. Just let's go hard. Let's see what we're at. So we're going to race at 24 miles an hour. Now, because of my terrible swim, that was just awful. Because of that, I was in a position that I'd never been in before. I mean, I'm normally out right with the front people. And so then, you're on the bike and you ride there. In this case, I had to ride through, what I thought was the field. I mean, there wasn't this time that I wasn't passing somebody or not just like, hey, passing left, or whatever I would say to people. I did notice an enormous amount of drafting all the time, like I'd said earlier.
Really?
Yes. There's packs of people, and they would just ride in these fucking little packs. And so then you'd pass them. And there was a few people I'd passed, and they would and you could tell they were trying to draft you, and you just kind of turn your head to the side a little bit, and like you knew that you were watching them, and they would just back off because there's no reason for them to be doing that. So the power swings weren't very violent. I think I think I peaked at like 640 watts in one aspect or something like that. But for the most part, pretty steady. A lot of 250s because when I'm going around corners, because I hold speed pretty well through them, because I'm a fairly competent cyclist, that I would coast through the corner, so it would drop to 0, right? So there's no reason for me to pedal through there because I carry speed so well. So the variability wasn't as even as I'd like. It wasn't bad, but it was. Seeing 300 didn't scare me. Seeing 220 or 230 didn't scare me.
So you did look at power.
I wasn't going to ride to it,
but you were monitoring it.
Yeah, I was never going to ride to it. If I was like, oh shit, man, I'm doing this and I'm going 400 watts. Okay, then obviously something needs to be addressed. But I wasn't going to ride to power. I was going to ride to speed, and I was going to keep speed level. There was one section, it was a really good road, and hell, I think I was doing like 40 miles an hour down this fucking road on a flat. It seemed like a flat. It was a slight downhill, but it was just velvety smooth asphalt, and I can't remember I passed 3 big sexy guys right there, and I just one of them told me afterwards, he's like,
He goes, you look like a fucking missile, man. Like, just like, he goes, you don't move. He goes, you just like your upper body just sits there, and your legs go up and down, but that's it. Like, you're not moving at all. I was like, well, you're not supposed to.
I'll take that compliment. Thank you. So, overall, what should somebody know about this race course that hasn't done this race course before?
On the bike, or on the swim and the bike, obviously.
No, I'm just talking about the bike portion right now.
Oh, the bike portion. There are turns in it. There are some. It's kind of like a little false flat. It's not substantial, but it's enough to mess with you. Just keep your head down, keep the power up, and carry the. There's turns in it, and just carry the speed well through the turns. Those are the only things I would do. I blow through the aid station, so I never even. I saw aid stations, I just didn't use any one of them. So I just would. My head is just down. I'm looking down at the road like I'm supposed to. Sight every now and then, and just power up.
Gotcha. So, what would you say to someone who wants to do this course next year, but doesn't have the bike handling skills that you do? Would you say this is a fairly easy course?
Yeah. Yes. This on the rate of turns, like you're going to look at, say, the Arizona 70.3 that's got like 90 turns in it or something like that. There are turns in it, but they're not bad. The one out and back section, that's a little tighter than one would really want to do on a tri-bike. But other than that, they're all big, wide things. One thing of note, because it's a desert area and it's very flat and there's a lot of, I guess we'll call it lighter dirt in the area, almost like sand. If you see any of that shit on the ground, when you're in a turn, don't just drive through that. You will lose traction and you'll eat shit. You don't want to be doing that.
Really? So you saw wrecks?
Yeah. I did not see. Previously, when I've done the Olympic distance out there, I've seen wrecks of people doing that because they would hit the sand. And they can't be. You can't keep monitoring a race. They're going to sweep it once, probably sweep it twice. But what if there's a windstorm like 15 minutes ago? They're not going to get out there and sweep it for you. So if there's sand, don't hit that. You just lose traction.
Gotcha.
I saw no wrecks. I saw a few people with flats, but it wasn't a large glaring number.
Gotcha. So I know you actually use the ISM saddle, and you say it's so comfortable you could sit on it naked.
Yes.
For hours.
Yes.
But is that based on your fit, geometry, or how your body is shaped, or is that just how good the saddle is?
I think a combination of all of them. And yes, it is true. I have ridden on the trainer naked with that saddle just to see my suspicion on that. I have done a few rides where I've got the feedback Omnium trainer as well. So it's a little portable, like a rear roller wheel, and the front fork is locked in.
The red one.
What's that?
The red one.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I brought that to the pool where I'll swim in the pool and I hop out, get on the bike. Well, I don't swim with a padded gem or anything. Or a padded Speedo. It's just, that's what it is. So, yes, there's a proper fit to where you should be resting part of your weight on the saddle, part of the weight on your arms, and your core is holding all that. So it's a combination of all three. I use the ISM 3.0 PN saddle, and I'm actually gonna get a full carbon one because I don't even want the pad anymore. So, as I believe that would be more comfortable. So, but it's a truly, it's a good enough saddle to where I have it on 4 of my 6 bicycles.
Why not the other 2 if it's so good?
One's a beach cruiser, so that I don't need a $200 saddle on a $150 bike, and then the other one's a mountain bike that really doesn't operate so much. So,
gosh, well, I don't have one of those saddles. If you want to send me one, I'll try it for next year. But just saying,
we'll see what we can do. At Chattanooga, we'll have you ride around on my bike. How's that sound?
Don't know how to take that answer right now.
I will also give you a previously used one just in case that's your thing. So
okay, hopefully you don't pee on it.
Yes, that is a guarantee. So
you don't pee on your bike.
I can't do it. Like, I've done it before. I haven't done it on this bike. I can't do it. So.
Okay. So whenever you're getting ready to get off the bike, how do you feel about your performance on the bike? at Indian Wells?
I felt really good about that, honestly. Like I said earlier, when I crossed mile 50 at 2 hours and 3 minutes, 2 hours and 2 minutes, somewhere in there on my Garmin. And I was like, all right, dude, you've got 16 or whatever minutes that's left. Let's get into transition. I've never been here before. This is fast. Let's just relax. You've got to run. I mean, I'm not sitting up relaxing, but let's just back off the gas pedal and just kind of not coast in, but like pedal in normal, like, keep speed up, but not, racing speed. And then, that's when I got passed by my buddy. So he was the only person to have passed me the entire ride. And then I flagged down that official to get that other guy penalized.
So you wasted some of your own time to hurt somebody else's time, potentially.
That's a dick move. I mean, I worked hard. I trained hard for this race. I did 2 centuries prior to this. I did one of them is called the Circle of Doom, and you do 10,000 feet of climbing in 97 miles. I mean, that's exactly what it sounds like. It was a fun ride, but I mean, I had trained hard for that. So I think that someone that in any sort of unfair advantage gained, whether it's drafting, whether it's course cutting, whether it's performance enhancing substance, you're going to count in the results. Fine. Then you should be suffer the consequences. I think there's an ethics thing that we all have to abide by for this sport.
Okay.
And I think we should self-police it.
I think so too. So you get into T2, you're in T2 for less than 4 minutes, and then you're out on the run. How are you feeling at this point?
I felt great. I get off obviously, get in the bike, the T2 area. I see relatively no bikes there. I mean, they're pro bikes. You see a few of the age groupers, but there is
basically if you see somebody's bike there, they are getting a slot for Nice. More than likely.
There's a good chance, or they've already got their slot. I mean, you see it; they're all fast. It's like,
and chances are they're rocking a felt IA with a blue kit.
Yes, they have, or you see Lionel Sanders in his bike, and Jesus, okay, so there he is. So then, I sat down, put my shoes on. Okay, what? I'm gonna get pissed over 20, 30 seconds? No, so put my shoes on, and then I was like, all right, let's go. So the goal wattage on the running thing, it's not a true power meter like it is on a bike. There's too many variables, but I think it's like an efficiency gauge. Once you learn how to train with it, it becomes kind of natural. So on my watch, I see overall time, I see cadence, and I see power. I don't see anything else. I'm not allowed to see anything else. So I start running, and the first loop was fast. I was doing a lot of 7 flat. I wanted to put myself in that position for the knee slot just to see what it felt like. And plus I had a bet going with Lisa Miller that if I lapped her, well, there was no winner or loser bet. It was just a lot of shit talking prior to it that I was going to lap her on the run. So because it was 2 loops on the run. So as I'm coming back, I'm to start my loop 2, I see Ben Miller. And I mean, I hold my hand out like I was going to grab him the balls, and it was funny as hell. And then as I start loop 2, Lisa's like, well, you won the bet. And so then and this course, although it's flat, there is not a flat section on it the entire time. It's undulating you're running through a golf course. So it's just up, down, up, down, up, down the whole time. And then no big thing, but it's enough to where you can't establish a rhythm. So, but it was very fun. You weren't allowed to there wasn't supposed to be spectators on the golf course either. So it was really quiet. But there was the big, sexy racing tent at about 1.5 miles in, maybe 2 miles in. And they had a lot of good tunes on, a lot of gangster rap from Chris McDonald. And it was really, really fun. So I got some good pictures of us, and they were always out there cheering people on. I mean, they were there until the very end. So it was great.
Wow. So your nutrition plan on the run consists of some PC gels and some just gels, basically. How many? 2, 3, 4?
I fill a little handheld bottle with it, about 5 gels.
Oh, okay.
Just in case. And then I still like a little handheld thing, and I sip that as necessary.
Okay, so with the handheld bottle, do you feel like it impacts your run form?
Not enough, no. Because on shorter runs, like 90 minutes and less, if I'm going to carry something with me, I carry a handheld full water bottle with me. So I train with it. And then it's strapped to my hand. There's a strap that goes around my hand. So I can open my hand entirely and just run with it as normal. On the longer runs, I have a camelback, like if it's like 2.5 hour run, I'll run with a little camelback on me. But
on your back?
Yes. But I don't think it sacrificed that. And worst case, there's a little pockets on the back of the jersey. On the kit, if I really wanted to, I could just put that in the back and run with it there. And it really wouldn't bother me that badly.
Okay. So as you're getting towards the aid stations, did you notice that they ran out of anything while you're on course?
No. For me, all I was looking for was just water. On the aid stations on the run, all I want is water because I've got the gels in here, so I don't need anything.
Did they have ice out for you?
I believe so. I did not know if they did or not. All I would grab is water.
The other people I've interviewed said that even some that finished faster than you said they actually ran out of ice, and I was wanting to verify that.
They very well could have on the golf course because there wasn't a real way to access those points with a vehicle with anything else. It was kind of,
once you got set up, you're set up and that's what you get.
Yep, exactly.
Gotcha. So with the golf course and the run course in general here, what was the running terrain? Was it any gravel? Was it concrete? Was it asphalt? What was the surface that you were running on?
The bulk of the run on the golf course itself was on the cart path, which is it's like a paved asphalt, paved concrete in some places. There was a few places that it was kind of like a dirt area. To get in and out of the golf course, it was like a little dirt hill, but it was hard packed dirt. And then the remainder of it was just asphalt on the roads. So
okay, so you're looking at cadence and you're looking at your power, which is basically an efficiency factor here. What did you want to hit with the cadence and the efficiency factor on the run?
So cadence, I want to do. So Garmin doubles it up. So I wanted to do a 163, at least 82 steps a minute, essentially, right? And then on the power, I was going to start off at 330 watts, and then just see how that felt.
What does that actually mean? 330 watts.
I have no idea.
It's just some BS that it calculates.
When you're training with it, then you look at it afterwards, like, okay, I was going this fast. Oh, this is how many watts it took me. Okay, I was going this fast. But as your form improves and you get faster, just inherently faster over time, like your running form gets lighter and you just like it becomes easier to run faster. The wattage will go down to go faster essentially. Okay. So then so like your 330 is going to be 630 or whatever it might be.
Okay. So as you're approaching miles, say 8 through 12, how are your splits on these miles? Are you getting faster and faster, or are you falling apart? Are you having cramping issues? What is this like?
Well, so about mile 8, 9-ish, my knee started bothering me, and that's because over Thanksgiving, I went and did a spin class for like 2.5, 3 hours, and that is a genuinely bad idea.
Is it ever a good idea to do a spin class for you?
I hate them. I mean, on a last case resort, if you need to get a ride and you don't have a bike, then that's what you do. But it's not cycling. Like it's an entirely separate thing.
It's a workout meant to burn calories.
Yes, I do. I mean, is it a good substitute? Not really. I mean, there's no movement in the machine. There's no coasting. It's not like you're going to change your cadence all of a sudden. It's an inertia-driven flywheel versus force drive power from your organ. I mean, it's a little different.
Gotcha. So did the knee issue bother you on the race course?
A little bit, but then from mile 8 till about mile 12, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm done. I just wanted to get through the day. I went too hard for the first loop, but just to see what it felt like. And so the second loop was substantially slower.
Have you ever blown up on a race?
Yeah, all the time.
So do you feel like blowing up on a race actually improves your knowledge of yourself?
Yes. Well, Because then blowing up on a race will teach you what your limits are. I mean, that's how you know. I mean, people will say, oh, it's like I want to go hard. I want to do this. Well, then go out and do it. But don't go and don't get overly ambitious and say, you know what, I'm going to ride with Lionel Sanders. That's probably a really bad idea because he does the half Ironman at 320 watts. Okay. So, let's take him out of it. Let's go. I want to go here today. Well, that's how you learn where your limits are and how you can get faster with it.
Right. And I feel like there are some athletes that, I mean, just based on the people that I've interviewed, some people are very timid and they don't ever want to really know where their goal is, because if they know where their goal is, then they actually have somewhere on a map to put themselves, rather than going, well, I don't know where I am. I'll just go here and be comfortable. And I'll go here and be comfortable, versus going, no, we want to blow up and see how far you can really go. Like, how long is that rope? Like, let's actually get a length measurement on the rope and see where it is.
There's two things. They're afraid of failure, more than two things. They're afraid of the pain because it's going to hurt. It's not going to feel good to do that.
But to be honest, going hard in the swim and going really, really hard on the bike is fun.
Absolutely.
Now then, that's what I'm talking about, because you can blow up on the bike and not even know it. That can slide right in there like a damn fox getting chicken eggs.
But then there's also they're not mentally tough enough to do it. That's the hard thing. Like, so we do a lot of real hard run intervals and a lot of real hard bike intervals. So that way to where it won't be uncommon for me to feel just immense pain. Like, and I'm not talking like sore, like sharp ow, but like to where your lungs are burning and you know, you're kind of delirious. I mean, some people aren't willing to go to that length.
And like, then it's the pushing the big ring and you're going, oh my gosh. Then your heart rate slowly climbs higher and higher. You can't hardly breathe. And then it's just pushing these big watts for so long.
Yeah.
And it's that overarching fatigue for distance and time versus that short, hard interval. There's two different pain levels there, and some people are comfortable with one and not the other.
Exactly.
Yeah. But for you, being that you've blown up, you know, hey, you kind of know how to self-sabotage in a sense, but then also how to triage down the backside. So how was this for you with these miles, getting through these, being that you went out too fast on the first lap?
It wasn't bad. I mean, I was still in a good place. You know, I mean, there, it's kind of not demoralizing, but kind of mess with you mentally when people pass you, right? But it's also easy to remember that I was on my second loop, and I remember there's this one lady that passed me, and I'm gonna name her up by name, and so her name, I'm gonna butcher her last name, but her name's Kelly, like Fua P. She is a beast. Like, if you look her up on OBS Try, sweet Jesus. I mean, there's every race has a medal next to it. Like, she is just. And,
what age group is she in?
She's in the 45 to 49 group. I mean, this year, I believe she got third at Kona in her age group. She won both boulder events. I mean, and you look at her, and she passed me. You're like, damn, there's not a P on her. Like, because you think she's a pro, right? Because she's moving that efficiently and that well that late in the race. But I mean, I talked to her afterwards, and she's just a truly a great lady, and I think she's a coach in some capacity as well, so her life revolves around the sport. But I mean, so that's the hard thing with blowing up, is you would get demoralized because all the people passing you. Some people that affects mentally, but if you're, I mean, where I was at, I mean, some of the people that were passing me they're on their first loop, kind of going into their second loop, more or less. So it wasn't a lot of people that were really passing me over. I mean, there was people passing me overall, but not a substantial number.
Gotcha. No. So whenever you got towards miles 11, 12, and 13, wrapping it all up, how are you holding up?
You're like, all right, I'm feeling good, feeling fine. And it's, you know, it's flat, and you see people that you try to see people that you recognize, and you're just like, oh, good. I mean, you think yourself, like, I've ran this before. I ran a 5K before. I ran a 2 miles before. I ran a mile before. And I mean, you just try to break it down into measurable, quantifiable things where, you know, if you're a mile, okay, break it down. Okay, a mile sounds long sometimes, right? Well, then break it down. Okay, it's only four laps around a track. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad. So break it to something that you can understand it's easy. So,
man. So the last 800 yards of the run, how was this for you?
Oh, great. Because you come in and it's like a concrete path, and then you veer to the right, and then there's this big roundabout, and it's like they have the sign, they have and there's tons of people there, and they have a sign that says, "Okay, loop 2," or it says to finish, and you're just like, God, thank God I've got this finish. And so then you zip up the last bit of your jersey, make sure that your kit's all fine, and then you obviously you don't want your picture spoiled by some other jackass, so you look over your shoulder, you're like, all right, no one's gonna pass me, and then you just kind of take it all in as you're just running down the chute there.
Nice. So after you finished, what'd you do next?
I went to I saw a few of the big sexy teammates that were there. So I talked to them, went to the food tent, and just kind of, so they had tacos, and I didn't want a taco salad. I just go, they had this little, those little paper baskets that you get like fries in sometimes. And I go, just put meat in there, like a savage. And they all kind of laugh, and I go, no, I don't want anything else. Just put meat in the damn box. So they kind of did that, and I had a few cups or cans of Coke, pretty much just anything because your body's starving for calories at this point, and you want something. So I just eat whatever is my goal at that point. And then as I'm finishing, waiting for teammates, waiting for Ben Miller to finish. I was talking with Lionel Sanders a little bit because he had his aero testing 2 or 3 days later at Aero Sports. So with the whole Kenyan thing, and so just was talking to him a little bit, asked about his day. Talked to Joe Gambles a bit. He got second. He had a fantastic day. So and then just generally just talk to people, see how their day went and everything. So
nice. So we covered quite a bit about this race already. I mean, that has tons of information. Do you have anything else you want to add about the race?
There's a few from my perspective here, and data would back me on this, that I wish Ironman did a better job of policing the race. There are a few suspicious splits, and if you look at there is a female age grouper who outbiked the entire women's field, including the professionals. I believe I don't believe that is a valid result. Science would back me on this, and anything else in the world would back me on this. And I think that personally, and I think this would absolve all the cheating and then the drafting of any kind. It doesn't take long. Just if you want to slot, or if you want to be on the podium, or you want to count in results, like similar to how there's a wetsuit versus a non-wetsuit swim, post a file. I had a great bike split. It was a 222 bike split. I was 64th, I think, on the day, maybe something like that. And I had a great. You're damn right. I put that on Strava. You're damn right. Everything on mine is on Strava anyway. It's all public. Anything and everything's out there. And I put it on Facebook. I put it on Instagram. The whole bit. Like, I was happy with that. And I think if you ride really fast and you hide it, yes, there's workouts that should be hidden, but a race file. Fuck, Lionel Sanders. He publishes his. Okay, he doesn't publish certain things about his aero testing, which that's fine. Let manufacturers have that. Let him have that. But if someone's not willing to pony up their file, then there is something invalid, and they should be. It's like you're no better than a doper, in my opinion.
Are you familiar with Marathon Investigation? I'm sure you are.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I know Derek. I've talked to Derek a few times, so he runs Marathon Investigation.
Yes, I got you.
With this one, if you go to, so I mentioned Kelly earlier, Kelly Fua. I butchered her name, and she's going to kill me for that. She's the QOM on Strava for all the segments out there. So if anyone biked faster, which there was a few, then they either don't have Strava, which I guess is reasonable, or they've pulled it down from Strava, which is kind of interesting. But even if you are hidden on Strava, it still appears on a flyby, and you still appear on all the King of the Mountain all-time charts. Even though no one can see your file, it still appears on there. This individual does not appear on there, yet they do have a Strava name. So, there's a few pros that are not on Strava. I get that. So,
yeah.
And like, say if you're on a team, right? And if you're on a team, like someone Big Sexy Racing, and there was no bike sponsor. But if you have a bike sponsor, sometimes there is a monetary incentive, right? Like, so, for example, at some races, if you get the first out of the water and you're wearing a Roka wetsuit, you get $500.
And so, of course, I would want that. I mean, anybody in their world would want that. So, it just, I think to have any sort of benefit like that, full disclosure, like it's like a pro athlete. Like, so those pro athletes, they have to input into a database their whereabouts in, I think it's hour blocks, or it's hour or 2 hour blocks every day. You have to disclose your whereabouts. And if you're not there and there's a random tester, and that's as good as a positive test.
Really?
Yes, you have to disclose your whereabouts.
Man, I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty being in the testing pool. So, well, not shitty, but it's just people don't think about that kind of stuff. So,
man. So, what races are on your bucket list, man?
Bucket list. Well, next year's going to be interesting. I'm doing 3 halves in 3 months. So next year I'm doing Oceanside in April, Chattanooga with you in May, and then I'm doing Coeur d'Alene in June. I haven't decided yet whether I'll take a slot if I get it for Nice. I'm gonna do.
Whoa! Just back up on. If you would have gotten a slot at Indian Wells, would you have taken it?
Yeah, I would have bought it just because to have the option. I would have paid to have it.
Okay. So, all right, continue.
So at those races, I mean, depends, because again, that's a lot of logistics, and that would make me, just not anxiety prone, but it's just a lot of logistics to plan a European race. And then in July, I'm doing the Seattle to Portland bike ride with my dad. So it's a 200-mile bike ride over 2 days. Doing that, and then in August or some shit like that, August or September, me and Ben Miller are going to do the World 24-Hour Time Trial Championships in Borrego Springs in California.
Nice.
I don't know why I commit to this shit, but I do. And then Arizona 70.3, we've got 2 big sexy racing teams going against it. So their team, I'll say they, is Tom Lang swimming, Ben's on the bike or the Hulk, and then his wife Lisa Miller is running. And then, well, so we were like, we could beat them. And so Russell VB is our swimmer, I'm biking, and then Chad Bunting is our runner. And so, it's kind of funny. Ben and I are shit talking himself. So we're saying it's Superman, which is me, versus the Hulk, and we're gonna see who wins, because we don't have to run afterwards. His threshold is like 5,000 watts. So I just want to see him. And so we don't have to run afterwards. So it's just bike the living shit out of it. Let's see.
Blow up on the bike.
Just go as hard as you can for 56 miles. And then after that, I think I'll do Ironman Cozumel.
Oh, so you're going to do the full?
The full, yeah.
The 11th year anniversary of it.
It's time to do a full. What's that?
11th year anniversary.
Sure.
Yes, you didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Did not know that.
Yes. This year was the 10th. So, kind of wrapping everything up here. I already know all your fun stuff here, but go ahead and tell me again, what's your Instagram tag?
Andrew_Louie, Lewie. And then I'm on Strava. It's Andrew Lewis, I think, or Andrew Louie -BSR, or Big Sexy Racing, I think it is. And then Andrew Lewis on Facebook, and everything is public, open. I don't hide shit. I have nothing to hide. I mean, I put in hard work, so that is what that is.
Nice. So you still didn't answer the question there of what races are on your bucket list. You gave me off a list of what races you're doing next year.
Bucket list. Challenge Roth, that still is high. I mean, it's a full, I guess, but like, it just sounds kind of cool. I want to go up to Solar Hill and have the people screaming at you like in the Tour de France kind of. And one day I want to do the Haute route over there. I think that'd be kind of fun as a bike race. So, but other than that, if I really want to do something, I just up and do it. So I don't really have a bucket list, so to speak.
Nice. So to kind of wrap up here, we'll do something a little bit different, being that you've been on so many times already. What is a highlight, low light, and something learned from 2018?
Something learned from highlight from 2018. I really liked the bike split that I did at Indian Wells. I was really proud of that. Even though I wasn't the fastest out there, I was really proud of the effort that I put in that day and the work that I had done that. The low light was, although I had a whole lot of fun at Wildflower, when I slipped on the run and bashed my head into a rock, likely got a concussion. That was probably low there. That wasn't very fun. And
What
then getting
happened
hurt
there?
with my foot. What's that?
What happened there? You haven't ever even mentioned that.
It was, well, so the run's on trails, and I was taking it a little hard, and I shot, and it was a hard right-handed turn, and my foot slipped out from under me, and my head on the right side of my head hit a rock, and that kind of hurt a bit.
Are you doing Wildflower next year?
No, because that's in May, and I'm already committed to doing Chattanooga with you in May. So, and it's a beautiful, great race, lots of fun. Totally go do it if you're thinking about doing it. Awesome. It's just that I went a little hard, so I was laying on the ground for like 10 minutes and like just kind of laying there. And I mean, realistically, I probably shouldn't have finished through that, but that was what that is. And then I don't know. It's like I always feel if they're beating me, they got lots of power. I mean, or there's always the adage of head down, power up. You know, I mean, those are the two best quotes I can think about that are just like, if you're beating me, you've got a gaudy threshold. Anything along those lines.
Wow. So what is something learned from 2018?
Something learned. Just that, you know, people can buy whatever they want on a bike. I mean, and I'm sure there's plenty faster machines via wind tunnel than my IA is. But if you can't hold that position, like position is key above all else. And I mean, position, and then check your position again. And that's one of the most important things. And then honestly, that this is a hobby. Well, I'll go out there and have fun doing it. You know what I mean? If you're not having to have fun doing it, I wouldn't want to do something dishonest to take away from someone else. That's all. So
awesome. Well, Andrew, it's been great, and I look forward to following you in the future, and I'll talk to you soon, okay, man?
Absolutely, buddy.
Hey,
Hashtag PC, buddy.
You'll have to send me some pictures from the race.
Will do.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you were able to learn something from today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes or share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to see pictures from this athlete's race, learn more about who I am, what I'm doing, or be on the show yourself to share your story, check out my website at CoachTerryWilson.com. Until next time, continue the pursuit.